you members of parliament should look despondent. None of you should look discouraged. All of you today should know that you're being punished for doing the right thing. The country could have been completely embarrassed hadn't you done what you did. So stand tall, walk with your shoulders high. I'm just imagining what could have happened had the budget of 2022 been passed with an unconstitutional provision. Busybodies would have gone to the Constitutional Court and stopped the implementation of the 2022 budget. And everything they are bragging about would have come to a standstill. The CDF they are bragging about being to be gallant members of Parliament. There is nothing more important in your calling than the defense of your Constitution. Everything else is secondary. That day, had you done what they are suggesting you should have done, had you walked out of Parliament, who could have corrected this mistake?
No one.
They are suggesting that you should have walked out. Are you sure that had you walked out, the Deputy Speaker would have suspended business? They would have continued with business. Had they continued with business, what would have been the outcome? An unacceptable 2022 national budget. So, my dear friends, speaking on behalf of the members of the Central Committee and on behalf of all members of the Patriotic Front and also on behalf of all discerning citizens, I want to say to you, that walk that you took today is not a walk of shame. To call it a walk of shame is a mistake. That is a walk of honor. It's a walk of honor. You stood in the defense of the Constitution. You stood in the defense of this budget. So, leader of opposition, yes, you were meant to stand behind the bar, but you were carrying all the citizens of Zambia. All of you, where you stood in your places, you were standing there not to be embarrassed. You were standing there to show the Zambian people that you will not depart from the defense of your constitution. The Zambians out there are watching you. And all well-meaning Zambians today will be saying, yes, we have a formidable opposition. We promised, after the elections of August 2021, we promised that we are not going to be antagonistic. We promised that as opposition we're going to provide checks and balances, and we shall make sure that we assist them to govern. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're assisting them to govern. They themselves corrected the error after you pointed it out to them. Had what you did been indeed an offense, they wouldn't have corrected that error. So the ones who should be sitting on seats of shame are those who brought a budget which was faulty. They're the ones who caused this. They brought a budget which was faulty. For correcting their error, they are calling you to take a walk of shame. No. When you correct an error, especially such a big error, you don't deserve to take a walk of shame. Instead, you take the walk of honor. So I'm very proud of you, my friends. I was watching, and the moment you were asked to stand, I stood with you. I stood up throughout the process because I didn't want to be left alone. I wanted to join you in the standing of honor. Well done, my friend. The whole country is relying on you. Yes, we have to also start to speculate. And no one can stop you from speculating. Is there a coincidence between the day that they decided to suspend you and the business on the floor? My suspicion is, yes, it was well timed. Well timed because they know, they expect you to have torn to pieces the report of the president on the progress being made on the principles and values of Zambia. Those few of our colleagues who have remained in the House shall continue in the House. All those arsenals that you have prepared, give them to your friends who are in Parliament. They will not silence you. In these 30 days, my dear friends, whether it is in Parliament or outside Parliament, people still hear you. So please, speak to the press and debate that speech in the press.
Yes.
Don't feel intimidated at all. Call as many press briefings as you can to respond to that State of the Nation address, wrongly called State of the Nation address. You go and expose the weaknesses in that address. You go and ask the questions, the most important questions. And the starting point is this particular action you took. Patriotism and constitutionalism. The question that has to be asked is it correct for a person who goes and takes part in a meeting of opposition leaders in another sovereign state at the chagrin of the ruling party? Is that person placed correctly for them to come and talk about constitutionalism and patriotism? The question to ask him now is, what is our relationship with the Republic of South Africa? What is the relationship between ourselves and Zimbabwe? What is the relationship between ourselves and Uganda? How would he feel if any of these presidents came to Zambia and attended the meeting with the opposition in Zambia? How would he feel? Is that being patriotic? No. How can a person who is so inconsistent with the management of principles even dare go and talk about principles in Parliament? How? One major principle on which Zambia was founded is non-alignment. We have maintained this position ever since the birth of this country. You may recall when one major state went and invaded Iraq, what did our founding father do? He stood up in defense of the position taken by Africa. He actually went and pleaded with the superpowers not to bomb a weak Iraq. Years later, what happened? It was discovered that actually the weapons of mass destruction that were assumed to have been in Iraq were not even there. And now Zambia has thrown away its principle of being a non-aligned state. And I heard a laughable statement being made on the floor of the House. Madam Speaker, we voted against war. In a conflict, the moment you take sides, you're not stopping the conflict, you're actually fueling the conflict. And to say that to condemn Russia was to vote against the war is not correct. Because all you're doing is saying the other warring party is right, let them continue. Zambia has always been a non-aligned state. And all of a sudden we have the 7th president who does not seem to even understand why Zambia took the position to become a member of the Land Matters Movement. So these questions, my dear friends, members of parliament, even if you're not in the house, raise them with the public. Raise them. Bring attention of the public to these matters. Yes, you have greater latitude to speak in parliament because nobody will question you, nobody can sue you for what you say in parliament. But use the media. Reach out to our people. Let our people know that whatever you are supposed to have said in parliament, you shall say to them outside parliament. And talking about emoluments and so on, none of you went to parliament because you want to earn a salary. That wasn't the motivation. And every time I listen to some of these rulings that I hear in parliament, emoluments, emoluments, emoluments. When our 9 colleagues were thrown off parliament, what was the question? Emoluments, emoluments. Tell the Zambian people that you had emoluments even before you became members of parliament. Amen. Some of you are even losing money because of being members of parliament. We are not here to
all of us.
Having been a parliamentarian myself, I know what I'm talking about. Huh? So, don't be bothered about them talking about emoluments because after all, you're not there for emoluments. You are there to represent your people, to represent the people of Zambia. 30 days is a very short time. In these 30 days, my dear friends, focus as often as you can. So when you go back there, they will see that actually they sent you on study leave. But they sent you to be even stronger. So when you go back in the house, in 30 days, you will recover from the fiery debates that you present. I'm very proud of you. Well done.
Thank you, President. Very impressive.
I cut.